So we got all 4 of those pulled. Now we can pull out the Hydro Boost. Give her a wiggle there, and she comes right out. Now here was our problem with this one. It was leaking here, and rather than replace this seal, which you can do, we have bought another one, so let's grab it. Okay, so here's our new one versus our old one, and your 2 O-rings. Now these O-rings are going to go on the lines themselves, this line and this line where those came in. So we can pull those 2 plugs and this black cap, and let me show you where those 2 O-rings go on. So those 2 lines that come in right here, make sure that you replace them, because some people just throw them in there. They think they look good, but sometimes it's hard to tell. You have them, they're new, so just put them on. There could be a small crack. So let's go ahead and set that up in there, and we'll do it backwards. We're going to start by putting this nut on first, and then this one over here, and then the 2 top ones. Put our keeper in, and then we'll go outside with the lines. Now you'll notice the way that it leans in there, the bottom bolts stick out further, the top do not. If you're working by yourself and you don't have somebody to hold it up there for you, once again, this is why we're going to do these 2 bolts first, or nuts. So let's get those started. Back on, and now that's going to go in between. If you can see this line right here, this is where the rod goes in, and slide it on there first, then put it all on one shot. I need 2 hands to do that, but I think you understand. Okay, so we got the clip back in there. We got all 4 bolts tightened, so we're good in here. Let's head out, back up under the hood. One washer already. Now here's the old washer. Do you see how flat it looks? And then the new one, nice and round. So let's get both of those put on. One's on already, right there, and I'm gonna throw the new one on. We got the low pressure line here, the high pressure line back here on. I think you can see the 2 of those. And so the next one is gonna be this one, but remember, we have this metal bracket here that needs to go on the outside. Don't put it on now. It needs to go on the outside of the master cylinder. So let's go ahead and grab the master cylinder now, and let's get those things buttoned up. Then we can put that line on last. Otherwise, you're going to be moving this reservoir and everything else, and we don't want to do any more work than we have to. Okay, so I just sat it up there. The nuts are not on yet. I threaded these in by hand. We want this to kind of drip just a hair. Again, we don't have a check valve in here. It's going to bleed itself. The master cylinder will drip and fill up the bowl down inside of here, the chamber, which will cause it to drip here, and that's how we know they're bled. Anything left in this little elbow spot here, once pressing on the brakes once or twice, will throw a few bubbles in the reservoir, and you're not going to have to bleed the brakes because we didn't crack anything at the lines, at the tires, the rims. So now I have this clip in, I have this clip in, and I have our clip down there underneath in right there. So now it's time to go ahead and tighten back up the 2 nuts on the outside, which I believe were 13 millimeter, 13 or 14. I think they were 13. Okay, so we're gonna tighten up, I was wrong, it's a 14. So we're gonna tighten up this 14 first, that way it keeps it snug up against there. The back one we can thread up by hand as much as we can, we're not working so much. And then we'll tighten back up these 2 nuts. Okay, now after this one is on, right before you tighten up this other one, make sure you get that metal plate back on so you can tighten up that high pressure hose that's right here. So I've ran that down by hand. Now I can tighten it up with a wrench, and then I put the 14 on the other side. Just make sure that that metal plate is back up on there at this point. Okay, so you've noticed that these have been dripping like crazy on you, and that's a good thing because like I said, we're not going to bleed them. Now the chamber is full down inside here, and we'll just top off the reservoir here. So go ahead and tighten these 2 things up, and then we'll top off the reservoir. So our level is here, but we're supposed to be there. Not much, we didn't lose very much, and we kept the entire system bled. So we'll go ahead and top this off, and then we're going to want to turn the wheels a few times. At this point, it is a lot easier to jack up the vehicle to turn the wheels, because you're going to do it with the engine off. And that's just because this low pressure line and the high pressure line that we had off, we want to go ahead and bleed the power system or power steering side of this as well. Let me get that cap I dropped, and we'll turn the wheel a little bit. Okay, so that's it. I turned the wheels back and forth a little bit, got what air was in the system for the booster itself on the power steering side. We pulled her forward and hit the brakes, and she stopped good, and she's turning good, so everything's good to go. The only thing that I do want to point out is that if you got a remanufactured booster, make sure that the rod, this one had the rod in it, you've seen that, and we didn't have to swap the rods. But if yours it doesn't have it in it, then that clip, that springy clip with the rod that goes right into the master cylinder here, you'll have to pry that out. It just pries out and just snaps back into the new one. So, but if you got one that wasn't remanufactured, then you're going to have the rod in there. So I hope this video helps you out. Please click like, please click subscribe, click on my name underneath this video for all my other how-to videos. And as always, guys, enjoy.